Hi. So I've picked up a few vinyl records from thrift stores lately. I've been wanting to do a video again for a while. I just don't pick up as much as I used to from thrift stores. Um, I live in a smaller city with about 30,000 people. We only have one thrift store, and they have one wood box there filled with vinyl. Sometimes it's the same records there for weeks on end. Even still, 7-8 years ago, I used to pick up some decent records. You never found your Beatles or your Pink Floyd or your Led Zeppelin or whatever, but at least you would find, Fleetwood Mac, April Wine, stuff like that. But now, it's been months since I've even seen anything of that caliber, I guess. So it's kind of finding maybe the more obscure stuff that people aren't looking for. So generally what I do is, because the records are only a quarter, if something looks the least bit interesting, I grab it. Oftentimes that means it ends up being trash, but it's kind of worth the risk. Even if one in 8 or 9 records is a really good record, you're paying $2 or $3 for it, I guess is the way to look at it. So I guess we'll get started then. So the first record is by Dave Mills, and it is called Love is a Beautiful Song. There's still the cellophane on it. Maybe I'll pull that off because it's kind of obscuring it a little bit. So I really know very little about this album. I tried to look it up on Rate Your Music, which is where I generally kind of go because you can see other viewers' comments and stuff. The only thing I kind of gathered is that he might be... Oh, on here it says he's South African. On there, something kind of indicated he was Australian, but it says he's an Englishman that lives in South Africa, when he had singles in Australia and New Zealand. So there you go. I know very little about this record, so we'll have to try it out and see what it's like. The next album is Tommy Rose, Dizzy. I have heard this record before. I own a copy, I believe. The song Dizzy, my head is spinning. I think this might be an upgrade though. It's in pretty good shape. There's still the cellophane on it. And the album cover itself is in really good shape. The vinyl's in pretty good shape too. So I think the whole thing is probably an upgrade. If not, I might do some switching around to get a better copy. Introducing the fabulous Nina and Frederick. This is another one I know basically nothing about. From what I can gather, they're from Denmark, I believe, or Sweden, somewhere in there. Again, I know very little about this album. It was rated quite high on Rate Your Music by the 2 or 3 people that rated it. Really, that's not enough to really give you much of an idea. There were no reviews or comments or anything, so I don't really know what type of music it is, but again, it's in pretty much mint condition. Next is an album called France Jolie, or France Jolie. I'm not quite sure how to say her name. I believe she is a French-Canadian, and it is disco music from what I could gather. This was her first album. It's self-titled. Yeah. This one is called Faye Tucker Sings Blues from a Broken-Hearted Country Gal. Again, I've never heard of Faye Tucker. I don't know if she's related to Tanya Tucker. It's from the 60s. I guess what made me get this one, I don't really like country music per se, but the blues, I do like the blues, so I thought maybe this would be kind of interesting. So, I mean, for a quarter, I'll give it a listen and kind of see what I think. Again, it's in quite good shape. This one doesn't have the cellophane on it, but for an album from the 60s especially, it's still in quite good condition. Next is Ministry, again, self-titled Ministry. So I looked this one up as well. I have to admit, I don't really listen to a lot of like thrash metal type music. Apparently that's what the band Ministry is famous for. However, this album was their first album, and it was prior to their career as kind of a thrash metal group. And they did more, you know, your 80s pop stuff. So that's kind of what I'm gathering this is. Again, I haven't listened to it yet. It's not rated very high, but that may be by their fans that don't particularly like the fact that it's not thrash metal. I guess you'd call this new wave. Like the traditional 80s stuff, like the Eurythmics, that kind of thing, I believe. So we'll give it a listen to and see what I think. Next up, the next few I paid $2 for. I went to a thrift store in a neighboring city about 2-3 weeks ago now. I go there maybe once a month. There are several thrift stores in that city and bigger thrift stores, so it's kind of nice to go there. The downside is they charge more for their vinyl, and it's a very much a hit and miss thing, right? Because I can only go once a month. Sometimes that's weekdays, sometimes that's weekends, and it can often be quite picked over too. Sometimes I found some really good stuff there. Like I got the Blue Nile's first album, the self-titled The Blue Nile, which is an outstanding record. It's one of my favorites. Again, it's one I hadn't heard of though at the time, and I just kind of grabbed it on a whim. So this one's called The Rays, and it's called Dancing Up a Storm. Again, I know very little about this album. I believe it's some sort of like another Canadian disco album. I'm kind of excited to listen to it. I quite like that type of music. So we'll see what we think. Next up is a thing of soundtracks from the television show Dallas. It's by Floyd Kramer. And there's several themes: Dallas, The Incredible Hulk, Taxi, The Waltons, All in the Family, Little House on the Prairie, The Young and the Restless, MASH, Laverne and Shirley, Knots Landing. I'm quite a fan of theme songs, and I've memorized quite a few of them. So it's kind of fun just to have this to play in the background. And then this was the one I was the most excited about getting at that thrift store. Nat King Cole and the Children's Chorus, Christmas with Children, The Magic. On the front it's called The Magic of Christmas with Children. I have 2 Nat King Cole Christmas albums already. They're adult themed. This one is the children's one. I remember listening to this as a child at Christmas time. And I always liked the songs The Happiest Christmas Tree, Mrs. Santa Claus, Oh Boy That Santa Claus Forgot, and I believe there was one more on here, Little Christmas Tree, I think. So I quite enjoyed listening to this again. It brought back a lot of memories. I recently purchased a big lot of records on eBay for the price of shipping, essentially. The guy told me that they were from his grandfather's collection, and that his grandfather used to be a radio station manager and stuff, and that he was very anal about his records, kept them in mint condition. So when those arrive, I'll probably do another video, probably a couple of videos, because I got 100 records, so I'll probably try to divide it into 50 each. I mean, I'm not really sure what these records are. His grandson said that he didn't know what the records were. He wasn't really into music. So it's kind of a situation where somebody inherited somebody's stuff and knew nothing about it. So it could be anything. It could be scratched up polka records. It could be Beatles albums. I have no idea. So, I mean, I bought it a couple of days before Christmas, and it seemed kind of fun to, I don't know, buy something and I guess surprise myself. Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, hopefully I'll have another video out soon. Thanks.